Hello, good morning everyone. Welcome aboard this Swissair aircraft. Today we will be serving a classic schedule from Swissair from 1997 from Geneva to Algiers in Algeria. So in this flight I will take you through this entire flight using a real-world checklist procedures from another airline, not from Swissair, and trying to fly the MD-80 as realistically as possible. This story, we are taking the plane at around noon in the middle of the day. We are going to prepare the aircraft, which has flown this morning, and we will prepare the aircraft to fly it to Algiers. Okay, so the aircraft is powered up. We are going first to perform the basic tests, and then we will prepare the aircraft for the flight itself. So first we want to test the fire panel, which is located over here. It seems the jetway is in a way, but okay. Okay. Fire detector loop B is okay. So now we can start the APU in case we want to hit the aircraft. Okay, from now we are going to start the boarding process using GSX. So for that we will use two things. We will use the onboard ACARS. Of course at that time it did not exist, but it's a very nice feature from Leonardo. So we will init the flight, which I have created in SimBrief. The flight number would be 214. We are leaving LSGG, so Geneva. Today is the 31st of May, so we will put the day, scheduled date. The destination is DAAG. And our estimated departure time is 11:10. The ID is not LX, which is the current Swiss code. It's Swissair we are flying, so the code is SR. The estimated time en route, let me check the briefing, is 1 hour and 38 minutes, so D1 38. And our flight ID is SWR214. So we will soon receive by ACARS our initial messages. The weight and balance, the trip fuel will be 5 tons. So the taxi fuel, the scheduled taxi fuel is 200 kilos. And the block fuel we will block with 9 ton 7. Okay, send. Then the flight plan. So we will receive our flight plan and we will already go to the ACARS received messages, and we will soon start receiving all the messages in order to help us prepare the flight. In the meantime, we will continue the preparation and we will perform various tests. So, going down from the upper panel, we will go down and test the GPWS and systems. So we will put it on test, and we will listen to the, we can see on the ND here. Okay, this test is good. Okay, we have received our ACARS messages. I will reset the signal over there and we will check the messages after that. And we will also try the wind shear system.
Headwind, shear, headwind, shear. Tailwind, shear, tailwind, shear, tailwind, shear.
Okay, so then what we're going to do is that we are going to launch the boarding, since we are already not exactly on time. We will get the OFP from SimBrief. Oh, wait. Alright, there we are. So now I can launch the boarding, and with that we will have the correct figures of passengers, freight and fuel. Okay, so this seems to be correct. And I will request
Refueling truck
refueling
is on its way.
and also boarding.
Please don't load aircraft until the fuel truck arrives and ask to do it.
Okay, we will take off. We will open the door. Okay. So we will start preparing the ACARs and the flight computers, and we will. No, first we will finish the tests, and then we will prepare the aircraft.
Passengers boarding starting.
So we are going to perform the anti-sky test. Okay, 4 lights going out. Stop test 1 and 2. The opposite actually. Overspeed. Overspeed 2. Okay, and the ice fog. Alright, 4 and off. Okay. This concludes the first cabin test. There is one last thing that we need to test, is the auto-land capability. And for that,
Fuel truck is in position.
very simple. You need to set the exact
Please
same
don't load
frequency
aircraft until
on
the fuel truck
both
arrives and
nav
ask
radios
to do it.
here.
Please
But
use
you
your
must make
airplane
sure
fuel system to set the desired fuel quantity.
you must make sure that the ILS frequency is not within a receiver frequency, that it's a ILS range frequency, but it's not a full ILS. So this is indicated here by the glide slope fail and the lock fail. We can have it on both sides. We need also to turn on to switch on the 2 flight directors here and here, and press the auto land here button, and it will perform the auto land test while it will just perform the auto land test. So as we can see, our fuel is increasing, and then we will start programming the FMC. Okay, the auto-land test is concluded. We have no lights, so the auto-land test is okay. So we will initialize the FMC. So first we'll check the crew message. Our scheduled zero fuel weight is 49 tons, 0.7. So we'll put it here, 49 tons. Let's grab the time. Okay, 49.7, and the computer will automatically add the fuel to create our gross weight here. It's important that you don't forget to do this. Okay, the FMC. So we are currently at 10.32, and we can see that the coordinates of the stand of the gate are the same as the GNS position, which is a way of cross-checking that we are in a correct situation here. Okay, so the route, since we imported the route already from SimBrief, it's already in the computer. However, we need to check it roughly before validating. So I put the name of the file here in coroute, and then I have the routes that shows up here. And for that, we need to check with the flight plan here. Okay, Balsi. So 52 and 859, Mojil, UB31 to them, and then it's okay. So I can activate the route. So now I'm going to initialize the weight. So using the flight plan. So we already know our zero fuel weight is 49.7. We put it here. And we are expecting a 9.7 ton of fuel. Here we are going to put 9.7/N, which is the normal fuel consumption, because the aircraft has 2 modes, normal and alternate. The normal is that you're going to use the center tanks first and then the wing tanks. The alternate is that you're going to use the center tanks up to a point, and then you are going to use the wing tanks. So this has no effect on the fuel management system. You still need to turn the switches automatically, but for simplified flight today, we're going to use the normal way, which is the one I use all the time, by the way. So, continuing, the reserve fuel is it's the final reserve we were trying to input here, is 2 tons. Then, our cruise altitude will be flight level 330. The cruise wind is 276046.
Geneva control, this Airwing 529er is pushing back from standard 11.
Okay. Then the ISAT aviation, we don't have it here. It gives us the top of climb 080, which is negative 42 degrees, which is quite high actually. Okay, the transition altitude, we will have it through our charts, and just to make sure that it's correct, I will check the charts quickly, and the transition altitude is 7,000 feet, which is correct. Then the takeoff values, I will calculate them using the the EFB later on. Of course, at that time, Swissair did not use any EFB. Okay, next thing which is very important to set up is the center of gravity. So here, in the first message that we had here, we had an estimate of the takeoff center of gravity, which is 15.3. What matters is that you put it, it's very important to put it here. As you can see, once I move this small wheel here, it will adjust the flap recommended setting. Okay, so 15.3, it's not precise, but it's precise enough that we can set the setting. So as I can see right now, my elevator trim is going up higher than the requested setting. What can happen if I take off like this? First, I will have an error warning that the trim is not set correctly. And the second thing is that if I still perform the takeoff this way, my nose gear will raise in advance, and it can lead to a very dangerous situation where I cannot push the stick forward enough to compensate for the initial climb. And this can, of course, lead to a crash. Okay, that being said, we are going to do a rough estimate of our takeoff performance. Okay, so we are taking off from LSGG. The wind currently, I need to check the wind. So there is a way, so let's do it this way. So I will request the weather in LSGG thanks to the ACARS function of the Leonardo MATDAG. Okay, and I will receive an ACARS message, which we will use to compute our takeoff performance. Okay, weather report. Okay, wind is 2107 knots, 11 degrees, and QNH is 1012. Seven knots, so we'll be taking off on runway 22. Boarding is completed. The QNH is 1012, and temperature is, I think that was 12 degrees. No, it's 11 degrees. Up. Down. Okay. We will leave the anti-ice off and the packs on if it's possible. Our takeoff weight, since we have 200 kilos, will be 59.2. Okay. Okay, it will be a takeoff with 3 degrees of flaps, cell temp 50 degrees. Okay, I will remove the automatic reserve thrust feature, press flex, and input here 50 degrees. Okay, now we know our flaps takeoff configuration. The trim setting is also dependent on the flap setting. So we will put 3 here. So this should be our final trim setting. And we will also put 3 here, which means that when I'm going to dial in the flaps, it's going to, instead of going to 11, 15 or whatever, this range of the flaps lever is going to set automatically to 3. It's a nice feature that the MD-80 have, so you can check the performance in the right way. Okay, and then we have a V1 142, V2 147, and VR 147 and V2 156. There we are. Okay, now I can set the departure. And I know we are going to depart from runway 22 via Balsi 7 Alpha departure, which is here. And I can exec that. And I can see that I have it, where is the radar on? Okay. Just a quick check on the plan. We're going to legs page. I'm going to zoom in. Okay. And this looks like, okay, it expects me to go to 7,000 feet from here, which is quite possible, but we will see that later. Okay. Okay, I can switch on the passengers. The boarding is completed. So last thing I will do is check the load sheets and make sure that the actual weight of the passengers and cargo is correct. So here I can see I have a zero fuel weight, I have 50.6, which means I have much more passengers than expected. So I need to check to put that here. And also I need to change the gross weight. So usually you do the takeoff calculation after that, but it's good to have an idea before. So 50.6 here, which changes our gross weight of 60.3. And I will redo a quick taxi check. So remember, it's the gross weight minus the taxi fuel. Okay, still flaps 3, CELTEM 50, 143, and VR has changed to 148. And V2 is 157. Okay. Okay, we will put the V2 speed.
Geneva Control, Airwing 529, taxiing via Link 3 and Alpha through road runway 22, Geneva Control.
Okay. And the Mach takeoff weight is now, of course, the weight has changed, so we are slightly going to change. And you don't need to change either the flap setting, because as we've seen already, it takes the flaps 3. Okay, that's good. It sounds good. We are going to start the APU now. So to start the APU and the MD-80, you need to start fuel pumps, usually on the right. The start pump, because it's not the same current as the, it's actually using direct current, so it needs a start pump when the APU is already off. Okay, we put it on run. The APU gen is off, which is correct. And we're going to start the APU. All right, it's starting up. And as you can see, our flaps are slightly out. This is caused by the lack of hydraulic power. So if you can see, if I... Okay, now the flaps are up. Okay, we don't need the A-cars anymore. So I will put the takeoff page here, and I will put the legs page here. Okay, the APU is on. We are going to switch the APU. Okay, and we are going to put some air because the air cabin is quite cold also. I'm going to put the APU to on. Okay, for the bleed. I need to put the supply on auto and also raise the two levers that are here. Okay. The APU packs are not on already because the APU just started, but we will wait for that. Okay, I will turn the AFB on flight mode. I will keep the performance page here. And we shall be ready to start soon, except that I haven't briefed for the departure. Okay. So we're going to take off from runway 22. Our takeoff speeds have been computed already, and we know we're going to taxi all the way to runway 22. The departure will be Bassi 7 Alpha. The initial climb clearance will be 9,000, flight level 90, so we're going to put that here. The initial heading is 224. So we're going to put that also here. Okay, initial climb speed is V2, 156, 9,000. And I will, our first waypoint in navigation is the Passery VOR, so I'm going to put the frequency of the VOR here. Okay. Okay, so we will be flying RNAV, so it doesn't need actually, but in case of backup, it's always a good practice to have the navets around you. The radial we are going to use is 044. Okay, we're good to go now. Okay, I will ask for departure, and I don't need to push back from this position. Okay, the beacon is on. Also, one last thing, since there is no ATC, I will just up. I haven't tested the TCAS. Okay, the TCAS system test, okay. I will resume the map to nav mode. And I will switch on the TCAS since we are ready to move, and we will perform the startup procedure. Okay, now we have some air. Oh, I see that the GPU is not disconnected yet. So there is no pushback from this stand. No, it's way.
Geneva Control, Ring 529er, taking off runway 22 on the road.
Okay, there we go. Okay, we are ready to push now. Okay, we'll perform one last check. Alright, before start checklist. The doors, windows, pilot seats are closed. Just make sure that. Okay, all doors are closed. The anti-collision switch is on. The pneumatic crossfeed valve levers are open. The engine hydraulic pumps are on high. The air conditioning supply switches are off. I will also lock the door. The APU air is on. The gas power switch is off. The engine selection is on both. We can also stop the pump. The fuel pumps are all on. And the pneumatic press gauge is checked on 3000 psi, so we're good. The parking brace is set, and we will perform the engine start, starting by the right engine. Okay, we have the pressure here, the supply are off, so we can perform the startup. So the starter is engaged, I can see the N2 rising. In the meantime, the hydraulic is rising, the oil pressure is rising, so we are good. Okay, so we need to be above 20% of N2. I can see the rest is rising also, so we're good on that. Okay, it's more or less stabilized. I'm going to introduce the fuel flow. EGT starting. And one is rising. Okay, the generators have commuted. 40%. I can take the starter out. I will start engine number 1. So same story. N2 rising, hydraulic pressure rising, oil pressure rising, and 1 starting. Okay, stabilized. Fuel, AGT rising, burner is coming. So I have skipped some preparation checklist in order for the flight to be less a hassle for this first flight. Alright, 40%, I can take off the starter. Okay, the APU gen are off. I'm going to check the both left and right. We can shut down the APU, which is going to shut down automatically. Resume the bleed supply, so we have some air in the cabin. And the galley can be on again. Okay, after start checklist. Engine ignition selector is off, air condition supply switches to auto. The ground equipment has been removed, the electrical system has been just checked. The cross-tie lockout reset switch is reset. Okay. Galley power switch is on. Airfoil anti-ice, we don't need that for the moment. I will just set the windshield anti-ice. The pneumatic crossfeed valve levers, we will still leave them open. The hydraulic, we have 29 and 30, which is the correct. Annulation panel, we just have the parking brakes. And, oh yeah, I forgot that. That's because I didn't do the checklist at first. No, that's a mistake. This is the one. Okay, TCAS is on TARA. And now we will be performing the before taxi checklist. The windows are closed. We will set the flaps. So as you can see, the flaps will go to flaps 3. There we are. I will set the trims. We will perform a flight control check. Okay, commands. The flight controls are full. Okay, so windows are closed. The IRT is in up. I will explain this during taxi. Flaps, slats, so we have...
Geneva control, Erling 529 is flying south, climbing flat at 150.
Okay, so we have flaps 3, green takeoff. The takeoff data has been input, and I will set the bugs here. And 142, 140, wait, it's not correct. Okay, there should be a bug here. Oh, I think it's using, I'm not sure why, but yeah, it's, okay. I know the speeds. G alt of the FGS is 9000, that's check. I will also put the aircraft in takeoff mode by pressing the toga button, which is here on the aircraft. The flight guidance radio are takeoff set. The APU air is off, or as required. In this case, it's off.
Ring 529 is now climbing flight level 230.
I accidentally pressed the fuel wings, fuel heat, but it's not needed. And as you can see, the fuel temperature is rising. This is to avoid the formation of ice in the fuel filters before alimenting the engine, which can be a problem on the MD-80s. The radar is going to on, and we are going to perform the test, which I shouldn't do when an aircraft is in front of me. Okay, the weather radar. I will switch it off for the moment. The shoulder harness are on and the takeoff briefing has been completed. Alright, before taxi checklist complete. Okay, so now we have this guy that has pushed back in front of me, so I will wait for him to move, and we will taxi behind him to runway 22. Geneva traffic, good morning, Swissair 214 is currently stand 32 and we'll be taxiing to runway 22 behind the EasyJet traffic. Alright, so our intentions have been transmitted and I will just wait for the EasyJet aircraft to taxi out. So we have a bit of time. I will explain the ART. So the ART is the automatic reverse thrust. Basically, this means it's in case of one engine failure, the system feels that the aircraft has a problem with the. How we can see, he's performing the flight control check, but he hasn't announced himself on the radio anyway. So we will taxi out behind this guy. Geneva traffic, Swissair 214 is taxiing behind the EasyJet traffic runway 22. Taxi lights, ground flood. All right. Okay. Here we are. So as you cannot see here, I use actually a steering tiller to control my aircraft on the ground. You can see the aircraft is quite heavy today. Okay. Okay, so I've set the altimeter to 1012. I had forgotten, but since we didn't have, I should have done it when I received when I checked the METAR for the airports. And so the altitude is consistent with the altitude of the airport, so we're good on that. That's a way to check your altimeter roughly. Okay, since it's raining, I'm going to recalculate the takeoff speeds, taking in account wet runway. Okay. Flaps 3, normal takeoff. Okay, so this time I'm not going to have a derated takeoff, so I'm going to switch back the ARG to on, to auto, and set takeoff here. And so the speeds are 134, 148, 157. Okay, the rest has not changed. So as I was explaining, the ARG is an automatic reserve thrust. The aircraft senses when there is an engine failure on whichever engine, and it compensates automatically with adding some thrust to the remaining engine. And this thrust rating is basically because you don't use the full power, even if in takeoff mode, of the rated engine of the aircraft. And the FAA did not want the aircraft to have a derate of a derate, which means if I take off derated, the IRG is already derated. So they decided that you cannot take off in a derated mode with the ARG, which means that you need to have it off, switched off when you take off derated. Okay, so now we will perform the, we will be reaching...
Geneva traffic, top 276 Romeo Alpha, lining up and departing runway 22.
Okay, that's the other traffic. Cabin call has been completed. The annunciator panel is no lights. Landing lights. Okay, hold on. Okay, so we will perform the before takeoff checklist after this guy, because I cannot line up and take off directly because you probably be in front of me. Okay, so what we will do is the strategy for takeoff. I will have the radar terrain because we have surrounded by terrain here, and my co-pilot that does not exist here will have the radar normal. Okay, he's taking off, so we will line up behind. Geneva traffic Swissair 214, line up and wait, runway 22. Okay, there's no other traffic. The guy is just airborne here. Okay, it's climbing a bit here, so that's why the aircraft is slowing down, which is one of the very nice features of the sloped runway in MSFS compared to Prepare 3D. You can see the runway in Geneva is quite sloped. Okay, it's 2,000 feet above the ground, so we will be ready to go. Okay, take off. Okay, cabin call has been done, annunciator panel is checked off, the landing lights are on, flap slats 3, takeoff, brake temperature is checked, engine selector is buff. Radar is on, FMS runway update 22 correctly identified, transponder TA array, before takeoff checklist complete. Okay, takeoff sequence. Geneva traffic Swissair 214, takeoff 22. Stabilized, auto thrust. Power set. Clamp. 18 knots cross check. E1. And rotate. Positive right. Gear up. Okay, I will set the auto flight now because I'm alone. And so one common use in the MD-80 is to use the vertical speed on initial climb. Okay, climb thrust. Nav. Okay, flaps up. Slats retracted. VNav. Okay, so the outside temperature is the rat is 11 degrees, and the outside temperature is 2 degrees and decreasing. And if we keep in the cloud, if the rat goes down to 5 degrees, I will switch on the engine, the anti-ice. Okay, so we are going to go through the Pass River. And I need the Geneva VOR to have a DME readout. Okay, 8 miles. Once we reach 7,000 feet after 8 miles of GVA VOR, then we will be able to do our left turn. Okay, I think we will go out of the clouds pretty soon. Okay, here. Okay, 7,000, turning left. And there is no ITC, so we will climb directly to our cruise altitude, which is flight level 330. I can switch off the logo lights. Nav track, VNav climb, that's good. Okay, looking good. Beautiful. That's just beautiful. So now the rat has come at 5 degrees. So when I enter these clouds, I will have to switch on the anti-icing. So as you can see, the anti-icing has an effect on engine power output. That's because the engine packs for anti-icing are directly mounted. It's not for the anti-engine, but the power source for the anti-icing is directly mounted on the engine. Okay, 10,000 feet, accelerating to 300 knots, our climb speed. 298 to be precise, and since it's quite turbulent yet, I will maintain the seatbelt signs on. Alright, 10,000 feet, pressurization check. 4,000 climbing. And we can see the turbulence. Okay, VNAV is disconnected. I will keep the terrain radar on because, as you can see, we are climbing between the mountains, as you can see here, and there are still some tops around us that are above 3,000 meters, so around that altitude. So as long as I'm not out of this area, I will not remove the terrain radar, and that's how it's very useful. Okay, out of the clouds, that's a good thing. I will wait a bit before removing the anti-ice. Okay, one thing I can do right now is the hydraulic pumps to mid. Okay, and I can perform the after check of checklist. The landing gear is up, the flap slats are up, and the lights are extinguished. The hydraulic pumps are on low. The fuel tanks are all on. I can also remove the ignition switch. The fuel heat is not required right now. Okay, out of the clouds. So I will get some more power, as you can see. Okay, much better. The seatbelt sign remains on, the smoking sign remains on. The flap selector takeoff, I'm going to stow it. It's not unstowed. The engine sync is not required. The engine sync is here. Okay, we can put that on anyone. The pilot heat is on captain. The cabin pressurization has been checked and is alright. The RT switch assume temp selector is auto. The initiator panel has no lights. The landing and logo lights are off. The altimeters are cross-checked, and we're going to put them because we have crossed the transition altitude already. Alright, still climbing. The mountains are in the clouds. And also quite rare, but not rare, but this SID, Standard Instrument Departure, has a climb profile which is quite steep because it requires me to be at Balsi, the point which is in 11 miles, not below flight level 200. And the minimum safe altitude here is 10,600 feet, sorry. Okay, so once we are out of these clouds, I will take off the engine, the switch seatbelt signs because normally we shouldn't have too many turbulence, like right now we have crossing the cloud. Okay. So this more or less concludes the takeoff phase. We will now be climbing to our cruise altitude of flight level 330. There shouldn't be anything very special about that. I'm going to switch progress. Okay, we still have 570 miles to go. Okay, we're looking good here. I can switch off the lights. Here and here. Alright, beautiful. Okay, center fuel press low. That's because we are climbing to 50 kilos in the center tanks, which I'm going to switch off right now. And the message will disappear. There we are. Okay. We are reaching Balsi. And I will switch back to the weather radar. Okay, so the weather radar in MSFS is not so good. Okay, passing 200. Let me check if there is any traffic ahead of us. No. Okay, we might encounter an Air Canada aircraft taking off from Nice. The problem with flying on that sim without any ATC is that you have no view of incoming traffic, and sometimes it can be there can be conflicts. So I will monitor the TCAS, which is here, and I will switch it to norm, and I will switch it to the maximum range of 15 miles. I'm not sure if I will be able to see. Okay, I can see some mountains down there. Okay, it doesn't seem to be a factor. So now what we're going to do is we are already going to prepare for our arrival. So we will need to perform a weather check. Algiers, because anything that's done in advance is already good enough. So one thing I'm sure it will not change is that I will prepare for the descent profile inserting the descent winds in the FMC so it can calculate the top of descent more precisely. I don't know why the nav track was off. I probably pressed it. Okay, so for that we're going to here this page. The descent profile we'll use will be flight level 310. Wind is 261 at 24. Flight level 200. 280 at 25. Flight level 150. 283 at 26. And flight 100, 255. At 14. Okay. So now the FMC can calculate correctly the top of descent. At least it's going to be more precise. Okay, let's see. Okay, there's the Air Canada traffic. But he's not on TCAS, so he's probably way above me. No, I don't even see him on above, so our path goes correctly, so no problem. Okay, just a quick look at the pressurization. According to that sim, he's on 4,000 feet above me. And he's also climbing to his cruise altitude, which appears to be flight level 400. So yeah, way good on this one. Right, the aircraft is running closely. Looking at the VATSIM map, I cannot foresee any traffic that would cause us problem from now. So I was preparing the arrival in Algiers. So for that, I will already request the weather. We are still 530 miles from here, so roughly we will come there in about an hour and 15 minutes. But the weather is not going to change dramatically before we arrived. So I will request the weather because I know there is no VATSIM station online. So if a VATSIM station was online, I could request the 80s, which is also very useful. Okay, I have heard the ding, anchor's message, and there it is. Okay, the wind is 0608 knots, so that means an easterly arrival in Algiers. Okay, so it's going to be runway 09er, an ILS, and that's the problem of VATSIM and having no ATC. I need to self-vector myself to the runway. Hold on a minute. Okay, so instead of coming from the Zemmouri VOR, I will come from the Marnora VOR. So I will remove actually the waypoints from Zemmouri VOR. So it's not a VOR, it's an NDP, as you can see by the name. So I will remove it and just check on the map. Step, 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 step. And there we are. Okay. So this is very likely to remain like this until the end of the flight. Beautiful. That's typical Swiss, even though it's France out there outside. And we are climbing, we are arriving at flight level 330, so the FMGC has switched to VNAV capture. The flight mount annunciator, to be precise. Okay, let's do a quick fuel follow-up. We will be passing Retno. In 6 miles and we have 7.8 tons on board of fuel. So right now we are supposed to pass it at 7.7 tons, so we are good on the fuel consumption. Alright, FNAV level. We can now set the cruise the cruise setting. Okay, this concludes the first phase of the flight. For now, I will leave you on, and we will jump back into the cockpit for comments much later on. Once we are preparing for descent, I will stay here, just in case, of course, and since we are flying in VATSIM. But we will see further for the comments for descent. Bye, see you. And as you can see here, we are crossing Marseille. Marseille city is here, and Marseille airport is here. And we are crossing next to the Martigues VR. Martigues is this city here. Here, as you cannot see, is the East Air Base because it's a military terrain. It's hidden, so we can see roughly the runway here. It's not a public known that it's the longest runway in Europe, almost 5,000 meters. Not all of it is usable, and it was one of the two shuttle diversion airfield for the space shuttle for the re-entry. But it didn't happen. The shuttle never landed here. It actually never diverted. Sorry. And is still used for many flight tests in France. Alright, so we are currently continuing our flight to Algiers. We are passing above the Mallorca Islands, and we are approaching the Cap de Pera VOR, and it's the opportunity to do another fuel check. And considering our flight plan, we should be passing Cap de Pera at 5.7 tons, and we will pass it at about 5.9 tons. So we are 200 kilos above our minimum fuel. I mean, our scheduled fuel. And for your information, the minimum fuel we should pass this VOR over would be 4 tons, unless below that we are not able to reach Algiers legally speaking, let's say. And we are 220 miles from Algiers. So I will start performing our descent and approach preparation in the cockpit. So first we're going to redo another weather check. So menu, ACARS. I will ask for another meter for Algiers. Also, I will ask for a diversion effort. Okay, we've received the ACARS message. Okay, so Algiers is 0304 knots. From quite variable actually. Visibility is good. We have scattered clouds at 1000 feet, and temperature is 24. Finish one okay. Alright, cab okay at the ABC, so that's good enough for me. Okay, we will remain, continue to target for a runway 09, and we will perform the landing calculations. Okay. Condition is good. The flaps 28, QNH, we say 1011. This is in order to calculate the density altitude. The wind, we said 030 at 4, so very light winds. Temperature is 24, and we have a reverser. We will use the auto brakes minimum. The landing weight will be 4.5, so 1,500 less, so 55 tons. Okay, we might not actually use the flaps 28, the mid auto brakes. Okay, that's better. Although I know Algiers has a quite long runway, I'm not aiming at having a too long landing, because I would like to exit at a Juliet 3 intersection. Okay, let us look at the nice feature here. Okay, so the ILS we will use is this one. So we will be coming from Armora VOR, NDB, sorry. And so our interception altitude will be 2,300 feet. So this is a remnant of the use of metric altitude in Algeria. So we will set our radio systems. So 108.5. And a course of 090. Okay. Since we have no ITC, we will directly descend to our interception altitude. Let's just check the radar minimums. Okay, so yeah. Okay. Also, so as I said, we'll be landing 09. I would like to exit on Juliet 3, and we will perform a shorter landing. So something I did not set when taking off from Geneva, which is a mistake on my part, is the auto brake system. So you have two versions of the MD-80 auto brake systems. Actually, you either have it or you don't have it. So when taking off, the difference is when you don't have auto brake system, you must not arm the speed brakes, and you need to arm also obviously the auto brakes. The difference is if you don't have it, you don't arm the auto brakes, the speed brakes. So we have them, and we will set it for the approach. I will select medium, but I can only arm it when the flaps are set, so 28, and the landing gear is down. I will consult the data card here, so I've already calculated the landing speeds. Will be 136 plus 5, so 141. 136 here, and we'll set 141 as the approach speed. Okay, so this is pretty clear for me. So the distance is pretty straightforward, as we will be descending directly to our initial approach fix. Okay, so one last thing. We are about 50 miles from our descent. One last thing we need to do, which is important in the MD-80, is we need to set the landing altitude. So Algiers airfield landing is 50 feet, so it's pretty straightforward also, and the QNH in 1011. And the reset, so when we land the pressurization, we have the Correct. Correct setting. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. And since there is still no ATC around and we are the only traffic quite a few a few miles around, what we will do is that we will have the FMS VNAV function handle the descent. So straight from now, I will select our minimum descent altitude. So 3,300 for the interception. Okay, here it's on. And once we reach our top of descent in about, so that's 48 miles and it's gonna be in 6 minutes, the airplane will start descent automatically to our planned altitude. So one thing important to note with the MD-80, or also there is something I just noticed, is that the fuel is starting to freeze. No, the fuel is not freezing, but it's starting to reach below zero temperature, which means in case we have some water in the fuel tanks, we can have, which happens sometimes because of condensation or stuff like that, we have to be careful to use the fuel heaters. So usually what we do is you use them when the temperature reaches this point. It removes the potential ice in the ice filter. And when this happens, you have a message that shows up in the annunciator panel saying that the fuel filter is getting clogged. So what we're going to do is we're to switch on the fuel heaters, and we have now fuel heat on. And we can see that the fuel temperature sensor increases quite quickly. This is because it's not the entire fuel tanks that are heated, it's just the fuel pump part. So it heats quite rapidly in order to remove all the ice that's there. Okay, so now this is done. We have pretty much everything set for descent. But yes, so going back onto the VNAV system of the MD-80, we have to keep in mind it's an old aircraft. The VNAV system is not perfect, and as will be in the real MD-80, you will need to monitor very deeply and very precisely the descent profile, because it's very common that the aircraft will overfly or underfly the VNAV path. It's just like in real aircraft. You can see the same behavior on the newer aircraft, including the Airbus A320 or the Boeing 737. Even though they are getting better and better, it's still not a perfectly reliable system, and it still needs, as every automated system on an aircraft, good monitoring. Okay, now we can see ahead of us what is the Algerian coast. and so our descent is going to start pretty soon. Okay, one last thing I forgot to set is of course, the decision height. And so, looking at the charts for the ILS approach, so we can see that Algiers has different weight categories, speed categories actually. We are currently flying a Charlie category aircraft, so our decision altitude is 276 and our decision height will be 220 feet, which means we're gonna use this one. 220. Yep, that's correct. There we are. Okay, starting the descent, we will put the hydraulic pumps into high, the engine sync to off, and the aircraft should start to descend normally. I will also put a message on the chat of Unicom on that scene, stating our intention. It's important that you inform other traffics of what you are going to do, especially around airports, so either using voice when you're within airport voice range, which is around 20 miles on VASIM, or by text if you are further away. Alright, the descent has started. We've just passed Mogil with 5.4 tons. We should have passed it at 5.1, so we are above the weight, and so that's good enough. And VNAV has disconnected itself. Yeah, there we go. So we can see right now for the moment we're on path. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the TCAS to below. Since we are Algerian airspace and not anymore in European airspace, I will set the transponder to 2000. The difference between the two is that when you are flying in Europe, if you use an ADSB transponder, usually the it's not a definite rule, but it's a rule that is applied often, quite often. Is that the ATC is going to have you set the transponder to 1000. So on VATSIM you can reproduce this; it doesn't change much, but setting 1000 is a good practice. Outside Europe, the standard transponder on VATSIM is 2000. So since we are now in Algerian airspace, have switched it to 1000. Okay, so there is a bit of turbulence, so I will have the passengers sit. Okay, so we will perform the descent approach checklist. So preservation has been set, the engine sync selector is off. The ice protection is set, we've just used the fuel heat just before, they are now off. The windshield anti-fog are on, I always leave them on. The fuel tanks are, both wing tanks fuel pumps are on. The seatbelt sign is on, the hydraulic pumps and hydraulic pressure are on high and the pressure is correct. The bank angle selector is at 25 degrees. The landing data and briefing has been done, and there we go. Also, I will change on the TRP the setting to maximum continuous thrust. Okay, we can see the Algiers Bay here. Passing 21, flight level 2.0. We can see, since the thruster levers are on idle, that the landing gear lights are becoming red. So if I increase a bit, for example, I will disconnect the auto throttle. If I increase a bit, you see the lights go out. Okay. Set the auto thrust. Also, when we get lower and the flights are deployed, we will have a gear warning indicator. Okay, we are on path on speed. We are a bit higher on speed actually. So if the aircraft manages to keep track of the flight path, we might not need to use the speed brakes. But I think it's gonna be the case because the speed keeps increasing, while the aircraft, to maintain the path, will increase its pitch. Will decrease the pitch. So as you can see here, we are right on path, and we are slightly getting our speed down to the correct speed. We are flying a bit fast. So here's the indicator: is that you want to have the pink circle on the red diamond here. And so if the pink circle is below, you are going too slow, and if the pink circle is above, then you are going too fast. Alright, passing flight level 150. So we can drop a message on Unicom again. Algiers traffic, Swissair 214 currently passing flight level 140 to Marmora, the NDB for ILS runway 09er, Algiers traffic. Okay, so what we're going to do now, even if we are above the transition altitude, I'm going to set right now the altimeter, also on the standby altimeter. Okay, we're starting to get reception on the localizer on the ILS, and this is where you are supposed to check for the let's see if it works. I'm not sure. Yeah, you can hear. Okay, so you can see here the Morse code emitting by the transmitter that you can receive here. We don't hear, we hear it very faintly actually, but it's the correct tone, and that's how you verify that the naved that you have is the correct one. Okay, approaching 10,000 feet, the speed is automatically being reduced to 240 knots because that's the speed limit we have. And we can perform the descent approach checklist. Pressurization, oh no, we've done it already. Pressurization, we're gonna check, yeah, it's coming down. Yep, no problem. And we're going to switch on the landing lights, also the floodlights, and the seatbelt sign is on. There we go. The aircraft is slightly above pass. This is usually where the aircraft goes into not so good path. Okay, here we are. The airport of Algiers is somewhere around here. Okay, below 10,000. We're on speed. So the MD-80 is a very sturdy plane, which means that you can deploy the flaps, especially on the landing gear, at very, very high speed. So, so this is slowing down the MD-80 is not really a problem as it can be on the Boeing 737, for example. As you can see here, you can get the gear down at up to 300 feet and extend it at 300 knots and extend it at 280 knots. Sorry, come again. Start again. We can put the gear down at 300 knots and the slats can extend at 280 knots. So basically, there is Mach 0.70. So there are not much profile except during cruise in which you cannot deploy the slats at maximum speed, which is quite interesting actually. We're still on good. We are a bit high on speed, but it's gonna be alright. Even though, yeah, we still have time to slow down before reaching the interception port. Otherwise, you must not hesitate to slow down the speed. Actually, since the turn is pretty slight here, I'm going to switch to vertical speed mode. And I will command with the FMS override here, I will command a lower speed for interception. And for that, I'm going to slightly deploy the speed brakes. But you must be careful by deploying the speed brakes during the turn, because that means also your speed is your stall speed is greatly increased. Okay, at 200 I will deploy the slats, because as you can see it shows alpha speed here, which is the speed commanded on the FMC and the autopilot panel is higher than the stall speed. So I will deploy the first round of slats, get the speed rates up, down. Okay, very good. So we've crossed the interception line, but we're still not on course for intercepting. So it's not a problem right now. And also, as we can see, we've crossed the glide slope. Okay, coming in nicely. So these are the scatter cloud that the 80s, the emitter talked about. Okay. Looking good. So try not to intercept the ILS above 200 knots because it's going to cause difficulties to your aircraft. Okay, what we can do here is actually heading hold on the localizer interception, and we will let the aircraft slow down and get to speed nicely. Okay, now I will select the 174, which is the flaps extension speed. And once I'm stabilized at 3,300, we will arm the ILS approach, which will also arm the glide slope capture. Okay, lock capture. We can now switch. Okay, very good. We're almost stable, so I will arm the ILS interception. I will also take down the flaps. So they're going to 11. The speed is decreasing greatly. And we should see the glide slope interception very soon. .200 knots, glide slope capture, and we can see the runway here. Flaps 15. Algiers traffic, Swissair 214 is fully established, ILS runway 09010 miles out. Okay, fully intercepted, we're going down. And once the radio altimeter reaches about 2,000 feet, we will get the gear down. So it will be 2,000 feet on this altimeter because we know the airfield is at sea level almost, and that we are overflying mountains right now. So that's why decision height is not always the best. Use, except for the very short final. We can keep the speed of 174 right now. Algiers City is here. So when the FMA announces low limit, it means that the throttle have reached their low setting and they cannot go down to slow down the aircraft. All right, 2,000 feet, get down. We can hear the gear going down. We're going to slow down to 160 on flaps 28. Flaps 28, land. Before landing, engine selector on both. The flap slats at 15 are takeoff. We are at 28 already. The spoiler lever is armed. We will also arm the auto brakes. The pilot heat ice protection is off. The landing lights are set. The radar is on standby. The the slats are 28 land. The TRA is on GA. The wing lights are extended, and the initiator panel has been checked. Nothing. Okay, I'm going to disconnect 1000. And I'm going to take manually also the thrust. As we can see, it's quite bumpy here. It's often the case in Algiers. I land there quite often, and I'm getting pushed
Light slope.
below the slope.
Light slope.
Correcting.
Light 500.
I'm a bit fast, but it's alright. Minimums continue.
200.
Very good. We are very good. We're a bit off to the left, but it's okay.
100. 50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
Alright, it's a bit of floating here. Keep that this way. Yep, there we are. Speed brakes deployed. Spoilers reversed. Reverse green. Slowing down. 100. 80 knots. Manual braking. And here's Juliet 3. There we are. Algiers traffic, Swissair 214 has vacated runway 09 over Juliet 3 taxi to gate. Okay, slowing down. Very good. We can now raise the flaps and the speed brakes. So one particularity with the MD-80 is that you cannot retract the flaps, the slats, unless the flaps have retracted. Okay, now I can. There we go. And we're going to go to Whiskey 16. Okay, my bad. Okay, after landing, the spoilers are retracted. The flaps slats are up. The APU is still off. I will start it up after. The engine ignition selector can be set back to off. The pilot seat is off. The landing lights are off, retracted. The weather radar is off. And the ATC is transponder is will still remain on TARA until we are at our parking stand. Okay, Juliet 7 here. So we will taxi Juliet 7, Juliet 11, and Whiskey 16. Okay, I can actually start the APU from now. Okay, there you go. Whoop. Okay, the APU is started. There we are. Much better. I left a big skid mark here. The mechanics are not going to be happy. Okay, the APU is available. I will switch it to Econ. Alright, we come to the gate. DC-80, yep, you wish. Oh, I'm a bit fast here. Okay, much better. Okay, there we are. That's good. And a bit short. There we are. Okay, parking brake set. We can shut down the engine. Perfect. The APU is giving power. Need to switch the aircon. Beacon off. And this concludes our flight. We can ask for the boarding.
The boarding requested.
And we can release the passengers. I'll just keep this. Alright, parking checklist. Parking brake is set, flaps, slats are up, the slides are disarmed, the APU is set through Econ, the air conditioning supply switches are set, the fuel levers are off, the seatbelt sign is off, the fuel pumps are set for the APU, so I will leave them on the right tank. The anti-collision switch is off, the hydraulic pumps are off. Thank you very much for following this flight and this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please feel free to share, comment below, and see you later.